The podium at a world championship represents the apex of human physical achievement, but the right to stand there is a formal legal designation contingent on an athlete's official standing with their sovereign state. The Olympic movement operates on a strict, non-negotiable premise. An athlete only earns the right to wear their country's colors through the legal recognition of their sovereign state. Right now, ahead of the 2026 International Cheer Union World Championships, that foundational rule is fracturing. The controversy centers on the delegation set to represent Costa Rica. A team is actively preparing to compete under the Costa Rican flag, even though they lack any legal authority from the government to represent the nation. This dispute highlights a vulnerability in global sports governance. If an international federation overrides a country's laws to select its own representatives, it undermines the legitimacy of every team on the field. The organization currently recognized by the International Cheer Union as the national governing body for Costa Rica is a private entity known as FADEPA. On March 28, 2026, Fedipa published a statement that dismantled its own position. They admitted they do not hold the national representation of the sport of cheerleading, explicitly confirming their athletes do not hold the status of a national team or official national representation. In international sports arbitration, this creates an unresolvable conflict governed by the legal doctrine of Estoppel, or venire contra factum proprium. The doctrine establishes a simple rule: a party cannot legally act in direct contradiction to its own prior public statements. By publishing a voluntary admission that they lack national authority, FADEPA instantly disqualified themselves from acting as a national governing body under the ICU's own membership rules. The International Cheer Union is now attempting to grant national team privileges to an organization that has publicly denied possessing that exact authority. The evidence here is not an interpretation from a rival organization. FADEPA's own admission acts as an immediate ability. International federations like the ICU operate within a strict legal hierarchy. They do not possess ultimate, unchecked authority. They are legally subordinate to both the Olympic Charter and the sovereign laws of their member states. Rule 29.1 of the Olympic Charter explicitly dictates that national federations must be recognized by their respective national Olympic committees. Costa Rican Law 7800 reinforces this standard. It dictates that national sports representation is a public function, exclusively delegated by the state. The Costa Rican government granted this indefinite legal recognition to the Costa Rican Cheer and Dance Federation, or FECAD CR. They hold the exclusive right to field national teams. FADEPA holds no such recognition. The Costa Rican State Sports Authority, ICOTR, stepped in to enforce this law. In December 2025, they issued a direct ultimatum to FADEPA. The government ordered FADEPA to immediately cease using any terminology, colors, or symbols suggesting official representation of the Costa Rican state. Despite these clear, documented warnings from a sovereign government, the ICU proceeded to officially recognize FADEPA as the national governing body in April 2024. This decision directly violates the ICU's own internal statutes, specifically Article 3.2.1, which mandates the admission of organizations recognized by the competent state authority. By bypassing the official certification of the National Sports Council, the ICU chose to disregard the legal sovereignty of the state of Costa Rica. To install an unrecognized private group, the ICU first had to clear the path. In 2023, they dismantled the officially recognized federation, FECAD CR. The conflict began in 2022, when the ICU threatened to suspend Costa Rica's international representation unless FECAD CR banned a specific coach. Under extreme pressure, the local federation complied. This ban triggered an immediate review by the Constitutional Chamber of the Costa Rican Supreme Court. The court found the coach was banned without due process. They ruled the action a violation of fundamental rights, issuing a binding order demanding his reinstatement. The situation invokes a core tenet of international law: ad impossibilia nemo tenutor. No one is bound to do the impossible. The ICU trapped FECAD CR between two destructive outcomes: defy the sovereign Supreme Court and face criminal penalties, or obey and face international disaffiliation. FECAD CR complied with their nation's supreme law. In response, the ICU retaliated by entirely expelling the legitimate federation from its ranks. The ICU expelled the federation for refusing to violate a Supreme Court mandate, effectively sanctioning a member for following its own national law. This administrative conflict is about to spill onto the competition floor. Decisions made regarding Costa Rica threaten the validity of the upcoming 2026 World Championships. Allowing an unauthorized private group to compete as Team Ticos forces recognized national teams into unfair competition. It injects technically false data directly into the official world rankings. The broader risk is what this means for every other nation. This establishes a precedent of defenselessness. If the international body can ignore Costa Rican law to elevate an unrecognized group, any private organization can attempt to bypass their official national federation. This sets a roadmap for bypassing any official federation, compromising the legal security of every member organization in the ICU. The solution requires balancing athlete participation with state sovereignty. The ICU cannot arbitrarily block athletes from competing, but it absolutely cannot permit them to usurp sovereign symbols they have no legal right to use. The Olympic framework already has an established precedent designed for exactly this scenario, the Individual Neutral Athlete, or AIN designation. Under strict AIN conditions, athletes from the disputed organization may compete, but they must do so entirely without national identifiers, flags, or any capacity to impact official nation rankings. To restore order, FECAD CR has issued formal requests: immediately suspend the unauthorized national designation, open an objective review of the 2023 expulsion, and formally notify the International Olympic Committee of the governance breach. Applying these Olympic rules consistently protects the foundational legal framework that is absolutely necessary for fair, legitimate international sporting competition.